northern Iraq, along the east bank of the Tigris River, opposite the city of Mosul, lie the ruins here. In 1842, British archaeologist Austen Henry Layard unearthed the ruins of the Great Library of Ashurbanipal, a royal archive containing thousands of clay tablets with cuneiform inscriptions.
But what was found here, with the help of artificial intelligence, could change the way we understand history.
What if everything we've been taught about our very existence is wrong? And what if the truth buried for centuries beneath layers of dust and denial was never meant to be uncovered? In the dark basements of museums, thousands of ancient clay tablets lie in silence, some broken, some perfectly preserved, all guarding a secret that predates history itself. For over 100 years, scholars tried to decipher them but failed. The writing was too complex, the meaning too strange. Then, in 2025, everything changed. Artificial intelligence succeeded where human understanding had reached its limit. And what it revealed was not a story or a myth, it was a blueprint, a confession etched in clay, revealing the truth about our creation, our division, and our control. Stay with us, because what you're about to hear may change humanity's first chapter forever. The clay that wouldn't speak. For more than a century, archaeologists pulled thousands of clay tablets from the ruins of ancient cities like Eridu and Nippur. These weren't just random artifacts. They were messages from the oldest civilization we know, Sumer.
Sumerian tablets are probably one of the oldest form of written record that we have.
The birthplace of writing itself. The script etched into these tablets is called cuneiform, and it's maddeningly difficult to read. Each symbol can shift its meaning depending on what comes before or after it. Some words have no modern match. The grammar twists in ways that don't fit any language we speak today. Scholars spent entire lifetimes translating just a handful of lines, and even then, they often weren't sure if they got it right. So most of these tablets just sat there, locked away, mislabeled, forgotten. The world moved on, assuming that whatever stories they held were probably just myths, anyway poetic tales about gods and floods, nothing more. But that assumption was built on incomplete information. We were reading scattered pages of a book and calling it fiction because we couldn't see the whole story. Then machine learning entered the picture. In 2025, researchers released AI models trained on thousands of cuneiform inscriptions. These weren't simple translation programs. They could recognize patterns across dialects, fill in missing symbols, predict broken sections, and cross-reference texts from different time periods and regions. Suddenly, tablets that had been silent for 4,000 years started making sense. And the sense they made was terrifying. Because once the AI pieced the fragments together, a pattern emerged that scholars had missed because they were looking at isolated pieces. These weren't creation myths. They were records, detailed, systematic records of how human beings were made, categorized, tested, and in some cases, discarded. The tablets described labor systems, classifications of people, procedures involving blood, clay, and something the texts called divine essence. Some passages repeated the same information like data logs. Others told the story in narrative form. But across all of them, one truth kept appearing. Humanity was not created as one unified species. We were divided from the very beginning. Multiple models, multiple purposes. The old story was simple. Gods made man from clay, breathed life into him, and that was that. But the newly decoded tablets don't tell it that way. They describe stages, trials, failures, adjustments, different versions of humans, each one built for a specific task. This wasn't divine inspiration, it was engineering, and it happened in phases. The AI flagged several terms that kept showing up in different tablets. One phrase translated roughly to function-bearing life. Another meant those who do not multiply. A third, chillingly, was clay of lower glow. For decades, scholars assumed these were just poetic ways of saying human. But when the AI reconstructed the full context, a different picture appeared. These weren't metaphors, they were categories. Some early humans, according to the texts, were designed without the ability to reproduce. They were made to work, not to survive. Each one had to be crafted individually, like tools. When they wore out or died, new ones were made to replace them. This wasn't a sustainable system, and the texts admit it. The gods, or whoever they were, grew tired of constantly rebuilding their workforce, so they tried something new. They upgraded the design. The tablets describe this decision plainly. A god named Enki, called the Wise One, decided to modify the template. This time, humans wouldn't just work. They would think. They would reproduce. They would last. And most importantly, they would obey without needing constant oversight. But even this upgrade wasn't given to everyone. The texts use different names for different groups. Some were called Lulu, a general term for human. Others were Sag-Giga, which one early translator rendered as the black-headed people. For years, no one paid attention to that phrase. It sounded symbolic. But the AI noticed something. Every time Sag-Giga appeared, it was connected to descriptions of labor, dark clay, and eyes that do not question. Were these physical traits? Were they metaphorical classes? The tablets don't spell it out, but they make it clear that not every group was built the same way, and not every group was meant to develop the same abilities. Some were given language, others were not. Some were taught to count and write, others were warned against looking at the stars. The texts even describe quality control. One passage mentions the clay of restless voice, a version of humanity that refused orders and was thrown into the rivers. Another talks about a group whose bodies were too weak to carry tools, so they were sent back into the mountain to be forgotten. This wasn't mythology. This was product testing. And the products were us. What's even stranger is that the tablets describe a specific location where all this happened, a place they called the Flatland between two rivers, a region we now know as ancient Mesopotamia.
The ancient city of Nineveh, a place originally inhabited by the Sumerians of Mesopotamia.
The texts treat it like a workshop, a place where prototypes were built, evaluated, modified, or scrapped. And every time a new group was made, the gods would name them, assign them tasks, and decide whether they were good enough to keep. The one who changed everything. The first humans were created to serve, but they were fragile, unable to reproduce, dependent on their makers for every spark of life. Crafting each one by hand drained those who designed them, so a new plan emerged, to shape a being that could think, lead, and endure without divine oversight. That being was Adapa, called the first man of wisdom. The tablets describe him as a leader among men, gifted with language, insight, and vision beyond ordinary comprehension. He could reason, command, and question a creation on the edge of divinity. Yet his brilliance had boundaries. He was made to know much, but not all. The moment he reached beyond what he was meant to understand, destiny shifted. The test of obedience sealed humanity's fate, drawing an eternal line between creator and creation, between knowledge and the forbidden truth that still echoes through time. According to the ancient tablets, Adapa was summoned to the heavens by Anu, the mighty god of the sky. There he was offered the food and drink of eternal life gifts that could have made humanity immortal. But before his journey, the god Enki warned him sternly, "Do not eat. Do not drink," trusting his creator. Adapa obeyed. When the divine feast was placed before him,
"Every tree of the garden you may freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat."
he refused, unaware that he was turning away immortality itself. In that single moment, the destiny of mankind was rewritten. Was it a deception? A divine test? The records remain silent, yet the consequence echoes through every heartbeat of humanity. From that day forward, humans would live, build, love, and dream. but always under the shadow of death. One act of obedience, one misunderstood warning, sealed our fate forever and defined what it means to be mortal. But Adapa's creation marked something else too. It marked the beginning of inequality, because not everyone got the upgrade. Some lines of humans remained as they were bound to labor, unable to think beyond their tasks. Others, modeled after Adapa, were given more freedom. They could learn, they could lead, they could pass on knowledge. The split was subtle at first, but it was there, and it would only grow wider. The tablets describe this division in practical terms. Some groups were permitted, others were assigned. Some were taught the movements of stars, others were kept in fields and told to dig. And the difference wasn't accidental, it was designed. This wasn't about natural evolution or cultural development. This was deliberate separation. And it happened at the very beginning, before history even started. When gods went to war over humanity's future. Not every god agreed with what Enki had done. The tablets make this very clear. There was a split in the divine order, and it wasn't quiet. On one side stood Enki, the god who gave humans reproduction, wisdom, and speech. He believed humanity could grow. He saw potential. In some texts, he's even called Father of Humanity. But on the other side stood Enlil, the commander, the enforcer, the one who demanded absolute order. And Enlil did not like what he saw. To him, humans were getting out of control. They were multiplying too fast. They were learning too much. And worst of all, they were starting to question. The texts describe Enlil's anger as swift and total. He didn't see humans as evolving, he saw them as breaking the design. And he blamed Enki for it. This wasn't just a disagreement. It was a war of philosophy, and it played out across heaven and earth. Some gods sided with Enki, quietly teaching humans secrets of metalwork, agriculture, writing, and the stars. Others stayed loyal to Enlil, calling for restrictions, punishments, and resets. The result was a fractured humanity. In some regions, humans were encouraged. They built cities, developed laws, recorded their history. In others, they were suppressed. Their leaders were silenced. Their knowledge was erased. Their names were forgotten. The tablets describe these differences plainly. In one place, humans are keepers of the grain and makers of laws. In another, they are those without name, workers whose existence was never meant to be remembered. This wasn't random. It was controlled development, and it was driven by a rift that kept growing. Eventually, Enlil made a final decision. He would end the experiment entirely. The tablets describe his plan without metaphor. He would send a great flood to wipe humanity off the earth, not to cleanse it, not to purify it, to erase it, to delete the project and start over. But once again, Enki intervened. He found one man and warned him. That man, known in different versions of the story as Utnapishtim, Ziusudra, or later, Noah built a vessel and saved a remnant. Enki couldn't save everyone, but he saved enough to carry the line forward, enough to preserve the version of humanity he believed in. The flood came. Most of humanity drowned, but the ones who survived weren't random. They were chosen, and the division that started before the flood continued long after the waters receded. Gifts that were never meant for everyone. Deep in the tablets, between the hymns and genealogies, are passages that don't sound like mythology at all. They sound like technical manuals, descriptions of devices, materials, processes, things that shouldn't exist in texts from 5,000 years ago. The AI flagged these sections immediately because the language was too specific, too consistent, too detailed. One passage describes vehicles with wings of wood and metal roaring across the sky, guided not by wind but by fire from within. Another mentions liquid metal sealed within a belly of heat, moved by pulse and thunder. For years, scholars dismissed these as poetic exaggeration. But when read side by side, the AI recognized a pattern. Specific components mentioned again and again: wings, containers, heat, propulsion, thunder. The texts never say these things were imagined. They say they were given by the gods to certain humans as rewards for loyalty. Knowledge wasn't discovered in this version of history. It was distributed, and it was weaponized. Some groups received metallurgy, astronomy, writing. Others received nothing, not even language. The tablets describe a light that burned the earth and left no flesh behind. They mention mountains split with fire and cities that vanished in a single day. Were these natural disasters? Or were they something else? The texts don't use metaphors here. They use measurements, distances, durations, effects. And they describe these events not as acts of nature, but as acts of power. Power that was controlled, power that was aimed, power that was used to separate one kind of human from another. What kind of civilization hands advanced technology to one group and denies even basic tools to another? The answer, it seems, is a civilization that wasn't built naturally. One that was structured from the top down, with humans placed not at the center, but at the bottom. And even at the bottom, we weren't equal. Some were meant to lead, others to serve. And the ones who questioned it? The tablets have a line for that too. They were shown the mountain, and the mountain did not return them. We don't know exactly what that means, but we know this much. The more the AI translates, the clearer it becomes. Technology in the ancient world wasn't a miracle. It was a lever, a way to keep some humans rising and others buried. And that system didn't end with Sumer. It just went underground. The return that erases everything. The Sumerians didn't just write myths, they kept records. For 7 centuries, priests in cities like Ur and Babylon tracked eclipses, planetary movements, even the subtle drift of distant stars. They had no telescopes, no computers, no modern math. And yet, their astronomical records are accurate enough to verify with modern instruments. Why? Because they believed the sky wasn't decoration. It was a warning system, and they were watching for something specific. The name that appears again and again in the texts is Nibiru. Not a myth, not a metaphor. A celestial object said to travel a long, slow orbit that brings it back every 3,600 years. Ancient scholars treated it like legend. But the AI found something different. References to cycles, long-term patterns, warnings tied not to Nibiru's arrival, but to what happens after. The texts don't call it a planet. They call it the crossing, the destroyer, the one who veils the light. And every time it passes, according to the tablets, something changes. Not just on Earth. In the order itself, civilizations fall, knowledge is lost, and humanity forgets. But not everyone forgets. The tablets describe a group called the Watchers, humans chosen by Enki to remember, to pass down stories, to keep the knowledge alive in secret, through symbols and coded language. And every time Nibiru returns, the cycle repeats. The earth is wiped clean, the order resets, and the division begins again. Some groups survive, others don't, and the ones who survive aren't chosen by chance. They're chosen by design. The AI didn't invent this theory. It just uncovered the pattern that was always there, a pattern of resets, a pattern of selection, a pattern that suggests some humans were never meant to make it through these cycles. They were built to be temporary, disposable, placeholder versions that would be erased when the time came. And if that's true, then the question isn't just where we came from. It's whether we're still living inside that system. Whether the divisions we see today, racial, social, economic, are echoes of something much older. Something that was written into us before we even had names. We were never supposed to see the full story. For thousands of years, the tablets sat scattered, broken, untranslated. Those who found them couldn't read them. Those who read them couldn't finish them. And those who finished them could never connect the pieces until now. Artificial intelligence didn't create this narrative. It revealed it. And what it revealed is a version of human history that doesn't fit the story we've been told. A version where humanity wasn't born equal, where some of us were designed to lead and others to serve. Where the divisions we see today might not be the result of culture, migration, or chance, but of intention, of design, of choices made long before recorded history began. This isn't about whether the gods were real. It's about whether someone or something structured our species with an end goal in mind. Whether the inequalities we struggle with today were baked into us from the start. Whether we're still living in the shadow of decisions made in clay and blood thousands of years ago. The Sumerians didn't just leave behind ruins. They left a record, a warning, a map of where we came from and what we were made to be. And now that we can finally read it, the question isn't what to believe, it's what to do. What changes when a species learns it was built to be divided? What happens when we realize the script was written long before we learned to read? If this story shook you like it did us, don't stay silent. Hit that like button, subscribe for more untold truths the world tried to bury, and tell us what you think were humanity's divisions engineered, or did we break ourselves apart? Every artifact, every tablet, pulls us closer to answers long hidden beneath time and denial. The deeper we dig, the stranger the truth becomes. Stay with us, stay questioning, because this discovery is only the beginning, and what lies beneath may change everything we thought we knew about who we are and where we truly came from.